And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and we have just finished a very exciting week 3 here in the 2026 Major League Rugby season number 9. And again, even though there's only 3 games each weekend, there's been a lot of really great rugby action throughout Major League Rugby. So super excited. Let's get into the power rankings. Again, if you've never seen my power rankings before, it is based purely on what is happening on the pitch, not necessarily what the standings or what the records of the individual teams are. It's all about who you beat, where you beat them, because we know home pitch advantage is a thing, how big of a defeat it was, how big of an upset. Chances are, especially if a lower ranked team beats an upper ranked team, there's going to be a lot of movement compared to if a higher ranked team slaughters a lower ranked team, probably not going to be too much movement. With that being said, let's focus on the bottom 2 teams, and it's actually been quite surprising to see this team once again in the number 6 spot. Your reigning, defending, 3-time Major League Rugby champions, New England Free Jacks, sitting at number 6 because unfortunately they fell to their rivals, Old Glory DC, and a very fun game. 21-19. Let's go into it. A little bit of a defensive game at first. The referee review system kind of came in a little bit early, and again, I'll be honest, I've already kind of talked about this. It is a really imperfect system that I feel, also depending on what stadium you're at, it's gonna make it even a slower process if the people that are supposed to get up these review videos or the replays can't seem to get them up correctly in the stadium. Case in point, in this game, we didn't see any of the reviews videos come up because it just didn't work out that way. The referees were able to see it, we just weren't able to see it. And it was just a very slow and tedious process, and it kind of made things, I really do feel it makes things a lot slower. I won't lie. And I'll be honest, as I mentioned before, anytime that we see the referee review system in Major League Rugby, I immediately want to just go off and do something else. It really makes me kind of zone out of things, and I don't think that was the intention with the referee review system. And again, I just feel it really does make the game feel a lot slower, and it doesn't feel like it adds anything that the TMO didn't already do either. So again, I don't know whether or not it's been successful, whether or not it's actually made gameplay faster in Major League Rugby. To me, it really doesn't feel like it. Though, in a couple of scenarios this weekend, the referee system, in my mind, may play a very interesting role depending on how coaches and teams decide to use it. And I'll get to those in a couple of points. But anyways, there was a yellow card against Old Glory with Paul Mullins getting in. But despite that, Old Glory was able to outmaneuver New England's defense, and they were able to score. Corey Daniels was able to get a brace in the beginning of the first half. A little bit of back and forth. In the end, at halftime, Old Glory up 14-7. In the second half, New England was able to score right off the bat behind Oscar Lennon to tie up the game. But then Old Glory was able to come back with a try of their own. Because I felt New England's defense maybe got a little over anxious or overexcited about it, and Old Glory was able to capitalize on it. What came up on this instance after this try was scored was very interesting. The try was challenged by Old Glory right as New England Joel Hodgson kicked the extra point. Now, Joel Hodgson missed the extra point, so the challenge came into play and basically nulled the kick. So if Joel Hodgson, because Joel Hodgson didn't make it, that actually got him an opportunity to try to kick again after the referee review system went into effect. The referee system did not overturn the try, so Joel Hodgson got another chance to kick the extra conversion. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make that one. But that might come into play in the future that we see sometimes with the NFL with icing the kicker on timeouts. I'm curious to see if the referee review system becomes something like that, where coaches might decide, hey, the game is tied right now. If if the conversion is made, that gives the other team the chance to win. I'm going to, despite the fact that maybe there is no reason to challenge the try, I will burn a challenge, because if I don't, we might lose the game. Ice the kicker. Say he did make that first kick, force him to have to make the kick again, and he ends up missing it. I'm curious to see if that ends up coming into play, where the referee system kind of ends up becoming almost a strategic chess game of trying to ice the kicker. I'm curious to see if that comes into play later on. But anyways, regardless, in the game, New England was able to score one more time, but Old Glory was able to hold them off, because at that point the game was 21-19. New England had the ball again. Old Glory's defense stopped them, so Old Glory held on to defeat New England 21-19. Very close game, and it gives New England a back-to-back losses right off the start of this season. Now, again, this is a slow start for New England, but New England are not strangers to having a slow start. Last season, they started the season off 2-3 and ended up going on this 8-game winning streak and ended up obviously winning the Major League Rugby Shield. So even though New England is 0-2 right now, if I was New England fans, I wouldn't be too worried just yet. Though it is very apparent that this is not the same New England team that held up the Shield the 2 years prior, back to back, and obviously having 3 shields under their belts. So, yeah, I wouldn't be worried too much yet. But it is a short season, so obviously New England, if they have to get into gear, they need to do it now. But big win for Old Glory. Unfortunately, Old Glory beating the team that's already in 6th place didn't necessarily move them up any higher. Moving on to our next team in the top 4 is the Seattle Seawolves, who fell to, shockingly, Anthem Rugby Carolina, who I kept at the number 2 spot. And Anthem Rugby Carolina getting 2 wins already in this season, looking very, very good. This was a really, really fun game. Start off really back and forth. Campbell Robb, the number 2 overall pick last season for Anthem Rugby Carolina, scores his 2nd try in 3 games. And then Seattle, though, took advantage of a couple of penalty kicks. And, of course, Davy Kutzer, who obviously one of the best penalty kickers. If you give Seattle a penalty advantage, they will kick it and they will score points, because Davy Kutzer is that good off of the tee. So, and then following that, Ezekiel Lindenmuth, a capped Eagle, scored for Seattle. So Seattle up 13-7 right off the bat. In the end, Anthem was able to come back with a try by Julian Roberts. This is another time when the RRS system kind of came up very interestingly. Seattle burned, for whatever reason, I forgot why, but they burned their first 2 challenges of the half. Julian Roberts, his try, he just came up what I felt was a little bit short. And for whatever reason, the match officials did not look back at that, did not review that try. And when the replay commentary teams looked at it, it did look questionable. So obviously, and they mentioned this, the commentary team, that head coach Peter Clarkey would have probably looked at it with a challenge, but because he ran out of challenges, he couldn't. So again, the RRS system kind of being kind of important in this game. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it does add a little bit of layer of some intrigue to the game. In the end, by the half, Anthem was ahead because of Julian Roberts and Malachi Isdale, who scored a try, striking back at his former Seattle team. They were up 21-18. It was a very, very fun match, this game. Second half, Seattle scored right away from Andrew Warner. And then Will Sherman, the number 1 overall draft pick, by Anthem Carolina last season, scored a try, though that one also looked a little bit questionable. But in the end, Anthem looked really, really good in this game. Just outplayed Seattle and won 34-25. Luke Carty, shout out to him. He was clutch in this game. A perfect 6 for 6 off of the tee, 14 total points. And Anthem, again, 2 wins in this season. Already more wins than they've ever had in their franchise history. And a win over a two-time MLR champion Seattle Seawolves. Very, very impressive from Anthem Rugby Carolina. Definitely not looking like the Anthem Rugby Carolina of 2 years prior. So they are sitting at number 2. And that leaves our last game, the very first game on Sunday Night Rugby, which was phenomenal. See Will Hooley and his team do a great job in prepping the game, previewing the game, and then post-game show. Again, Sunday Night Rugby is a huge thing. I highly recommend check it out on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. It's before the Sunday night game and after the Sunday night game. It definitely is a lot of fun to watch, and I highly recommend you check it out. So the Sunday night game was between the Chicago Hounds and the California Legion, with the old mate on the line. So who walks away with this one? San Diego, again, looking very, very good in their dominating win. I'm sorry, the California Legion over the New England Free Jacks. In Chicago, of course, looking like a world beater in their win against Anthem Rugby Carolina. This took place at SeatGeek Stadium. Now, it was raining cats and dogs at SeatGeek Stadium, and I'm not going to excuse anything, but definitely the elements kind of look like it really took a lot out of the Legion. Chicago scored fast and early, though the Legion, surprisingly, were not the ones getting a lot of yellow cards. Chicago got 2 right off the bat, but despite that, they were able to score twice off of Lucas Rumble. 4 tries total in the very first half. California tried their best to kind of stymie the flow. They got a very nice try by Ben Sugars, but at the halftime, it was 22-12 Chicago, and again, it just did not look good for California. California looked very flat. Second half, Chicago scored another 4 tries. To make matters worse, Christian Poy-Devin looked like he suffered what ended up being a broken collarbone in the match. They have not announced it yet, but I believe that's probably going to be season-ending for Christian Poy-Devin, especially considering the season is very short. So that adds another huge loss to California. Fortunately, they were able to score 4 tries, so they got a bonus point, including the very first try by Joe Mano. But man, California's defense just did not show up. 8 total tries by the Chicago Hounds, and they walked all over California. 48-24, the most dominant win of the week, and that means Chicago sticks at number 1. I decided not to move California to number 4, because they did lose to the number 1 ranked team, and the number 1 ranked team was home, and it was a very dominant win. So I had California stay at number 3, Seattle stayed at number 4, but the Old Mate, which again, if you haven't been paying attention, the Old Mate is a Supporters Cup trophy that was held by the team who wins it, and it's defended every match during the regular season. Now, I say regular season because it hasn't been confirmed that it will be carried over to the playoffs, but I believe it will be. So whoever ends up holding it at the end of the season will then, of course, carry on to next. But it is defended every time a Major League Rugby team plays against another Major League Rugby team. California had the Old Mate going into Chicago. Chicago ended up winning it, so Chicago walks away not only with the number 1 ranking, but with the Old Mate as well, becoming the first team so far in my power rankings to ever have the number 1 ranking and the Old Mate at the same time. Again, this just adds a little bit of extra fun if you're a Major League Rugby diehard fan, just to watch and keep track of the Old Mate going from one team to the other or being defended. We'll see if Chicago can hold on to it longer than California did and longer than New England did, who opened up the season. New England will get another crack at it as they will be going against Chicago in Week 4, but I'll be talking about more in our upcoming week preview coming up next. And welcome back, rugby fans. This is our Week 4 Major League Rugby 2026 season preview. Already, we are nearly at the halfway point of this regular season for Major League Rugby. Again, it's only 10 weeks, so it goes by quick, and it is going to be another exciting weekend of Major League Rugby action. Again, all these matches you can see on ESPN Plus, live and on demand. And of course, Sunday Night Rugby, which hosted by Will Hooley and his cast of talented team crew. They will be hosting Sunday Night Rugby, which is on ESPN2, right before the Seattle and California Legion game. So let's talk about the first game kicking off Saturday, April 18th, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Old Glory DC taking on the very dangerous Anthem Rugby Carolina. Of course, Old Glory has beaten Anthem Carolina 4 times so far. Again, Old Glory did eke out a win over New England, but Anthem, they are looking like world beaters, and it will be at home at American Legion Stadium, where they just had their very first win in franchise history, and I think they'll get their second one. I really do. I think Anthem will pick up the win in this match. Then we move on to Sunday, April 19th, a doubleheader. First, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I feel both games are going to be really, really fun, but this, I feel, is going to be the more fun of the two. Chicago Hounds looking like the class so far this season, holding the old mate, taking on the New England Free Jacks, who last time these two faced off against each other were in the playoffs, and Chicago lost by just a missed conversion kick. So, but again, this is not the New England of last season, or at least they haven't looked like it. They haven't won a game yet. Chicago looking like world beaters, and it is at SeatGeek Stadium. So far, these two teams have faced off against each other 6 times. New England has won 4 of them. Chicago has only won 2. Interestingly enough, New England has only won once against Chicago in SeatGeek Stadium. This is at SeatGeek. So, right now the numbers favor Chicago. Again, New England have been known to have a slow start. They did last season. But to go 0-3 to begin the season, I don't think New England will be doing that. But Chicago does look really, really good. They do have to defend the old mate. This is going to be a fun one. I think it'll be close, but I think Chicago will end up winning. But man, if New England does go 0-3, I mentioned earlier in my power rankings portion of this video, New England fans don't have to worry about anything, but if they do go 0-3, I think that's when you start to hit the panic button. And then, Sunday night rugby game, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Seattle Seawolves, the two-time MLR champions, take it on the California Legion at Wallace Annenberg Stadium in UCLA campus. Again, technically, it's the first time that these two teams have gone against each other. This used to be the oldest and biggest rivalry when it was the San Diego Legion taking on Seattle, but it's the California Legion now. California looking like a world beaters when they beat New England, and then just looking really devastated when they've lost both to Anthem and to Chicago just recently. This will be at home. They don't have to deal with the elements like they will deal with Chicago. But they did lose. I feel at least they'll lose Christian Poydemon for this next match. Ronan Murphy did get a red card during the Chicago game. So they're going to be down a couple of front rowers. And that doesn't bode well for the California Legion. Seattle, though, smartened from losing to Anthem Rugby Carolina. Again, I just don't think Alan Clarkey will allow his team, Seattle, to suffer back-to-back losses. So they're going to be coming out guns a-blazing. I just don't know what California team's going to show up. That's the thing. Because the California team that I thought would show up, that really decimated New England, just got handled by Chicago. But Chicago does look like world beaters. New England, that's questionable. Seattle just lost to Anthem. This is another toss-up game. That's the beauty right now, I feel, of Major League Rugby. there are no gimme games. Any game, any team can win any of them. I'm just going to be a homer again for California. I think California will do it. I think California will beat Seattle. But man, that's going to be tough for Seattle now, because Seattle is looking like a team also that's struggling quite a bit. But we'll see what happens in this match. Either way, it's going to be a fun game. If you're in the LA area near UCLA, Wallace Annenberg Stadium, come on down. I'll be there as a fan and spectator. And if you see me there, feel free to say hi. Don't be shy. I'd love to meet fellow rugby fans such as yourself. So that is our slate of games. Again, you can see them all on ESPN Plus. Sunday Night Rugby, ESPN2. And yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend of Major League Rugby. Thank you very much for watching my video. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the pitch.